What you are about to hear is highly classified. Welcome back to Zone 4 once more with another Marvel Now #1 review. This time looking at Captain America #1 by Rick Remender and John Romita Jr. Yes. Anybody that knows me will know first and foremost, I am not a fan of John Romita Jr.'s art style. And I'll get to that. But I'll be fair. I'll try not to be too biased here. But I was skeptical about this particular book because Ed Brubaker has done such an amazing job on Captain America over the past few years. And just the thought of someone else being on that title, let alone being Rick Remender, was just, a little jarring. But Rick Remender is known for different kinds of storytelling. He's known for more gritty, kind of out there stories, and this really is no different. It's very much in his style, but it is interesting. We open up with Captain America in a usual save the day kind of story. He's narrating and battling this throwaway villain, and then we have, after that, we have some classic Steve Rogers heroism, exhibited in the first couple of pages, and then we have this whole interaction with him and Sharon Carter. Minor spoiler, it's kind of a marriage proposal there. It's kind of swept under the rug. We just get a little taste of it. Excuse me. But, we see their relationship, their banter. There was a few moments where it was kind of out of character of Steve Rogers, but it wasn't too bad. And then they follow this trail of this train thing, people showing up out of nowhere, and they want to investigate, but there's only room for one, so Captain America goes, or Steve Rogers goes. Long story short, he is taken into Dimension Z, and he's in this whole other dimension. He's strapped to a table, and he's out of it because they've drugged him, and he's coming to, and who does he come face to face with? It's kind of an odd way to put it, face to face. Arnim Zola. So if you know Arnim Zola, you know what I mean by that. So Arnim Zola has kidnapped Steve Rogers because he's trying to extract the super soldier serum. Rogers escapes. That's nothing. That's not really spoiling anything, because this entire issue is just setting up the premise of Remender's first arc, or his run on the book. Either way, basically by the end of the book, Captain America is stuck in Dimension Z with a passenger. I'll leave it at that. I won't spoil that. But he's stuck in Dimension Z, doesn't know how he got there, really doesn't know how to get out, and he's got an entire army coming after him. So it's kind of, and it's funny because there's some tie-ins. It's actually a really well constructed story, because at the beginning, like I said, he's fighting this throwaway villain, but it's a plane crashing. Towards the end, we see him crashing in a plane. So there's story elements where you introduce something at the beginning and then you pay it off at the end, kind of tying it, mirroring it. It's a storytelling technique that I forget what it's called, but it's a good technique to use, because it makes the story cohesive and makes parallels that your mind focuses on, and it's just a solid technique that Remender used excellently here. So I definitely commend him for that. And we also have during his being drugged and being out of it, he thinks he's asleep on the couch from falling asleep watching monster movies, and Arnim Zola's figures are his minions are kind of monstrous, and the tone of the coloring and the setting and everything, it almost feels like you're watching an older movie, and Rick Remender's style of writing takes it there. The art of Dimension Z kind of sets you in that, so it's almost a sci-fi story in a way, and so there's those parallels as well. And it introduces Captain America into a different element. You know, we've seen him in recent years in a far more realistic capacity, fighting more realistic villains, you know, being very much the soldier, and now he is very much a sci-fi hero lost in a dimension, a castaway of sorts. And it's very interesting, I have to admit. Now, Romita's art, I'm not a fan. I just don't like the style. Most of the time, there's nothing technically wrong with it. There are a few times in this particular issue where it was jarring. At the beginning, there's a scene, a flashback to Steve Rogers' youth, and some of the actions in those panels, to me, were a little off. As far as perspective and foreshortening and stuff like that, it didn't quite look right to me. And then there was other panels later on in the book where the exaggeration of expressions and the exaggeration of the stature, because his style is very stylized, and he uses this bulky, kind of oddly fitting style that doesn't quite work right on all titles, and there was some expressive faces and stuff that just looked ridiculous to me, quite honestly. But I will say this: he draws a heck of an Arnim Zola. I mean, I've never seen Arnim Zola color, so I'll give my hats off to him on that. The design of Dimension Z, I thought, was superb. I mean, it really fit well within the story. The only thing is, again, I do have a bias against his art. I actually am not a huge fan of Remender, even though I did enjoy the story and this concept. But there's also, in the back of my mind, there's a comparison, because I'm trying to look at this as just, this is a new take on Captain America. You can't judge it by the past works, and that's kind of the way you have to go into all of Marvel now, and it's the way I approached the DC New 52 as well. But still, in the back of my mind, there's that comparison, and I feel like Cap was done so much better. But because I'm intrigued by the story, I have to say it's definitely worth checking out. It's a good story conceptually, and where it's going to go from here, I am very interested. I'm kind of excited by the change in that regard, and because it's a sci-fi pulpy kind of take on it in a way. It very much fits into the classic feel of Captain America in a very different way. So I'm very intrigued. The art, like I said, it's not as bad as I thought it might be, and there are some very good points about it, like Arnim Zola and Dimension Z. So I'm kind of struggling on a score to give it here, because simply out of principle, because it's Romita, I want to give it like a 2, but I can't. I can't do that. I'm gonna give it 3.5, and I'll stick with that. It's a 3.5. It's an intriguing story. I want to see where it goes. I'm not sold on the art. There are parts of the art that are good. There are parts of the art that are terrible, in my opinion. And it's just not Cap, even if it is an interesting story, a great concept. I'm hoping over the next few issues, my opinion of it, my score will raise. I struggle between a 3.5 and a 4, but comparing it to other Marvel Now books that I've enjoyed, I have to back it up and give it a 3.5 though. So that's my score on this one. I believe FF #1 is the only one coming out this week as far as a new #1 Marvel Now issue, and those are the only ones I'm covering as of right now. So this catches me up, and all I've got is FF, and then the next week there are a couple new books coming out. So check back with me for my FF #1 review of Mike Allred art. Not looking forward to that one. Thanks for watching.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production. Honk!